Welcome to the Face Media Talk Show, Face and Mask. Today we are going to talk about and discuss about the issues related to the terrorism and development. Our guest today, Mustafa Murshid. Thank you, Mustafa, for your time and participating in this talk show and sharing your ideas.
Thanks, Dr. Shami, for inviting me here to share some of opinions over this agenda. And thanks to the audience of the Face Media.
Today we like to hear about to understand your perspective about the terrorism issues and what is the status globally and Southeast Asian region and Bangladesh, and what is the relationship of this terrorism and development?
Well, definitely this is a very big canvas to talk, but if I take initially to defining the scenario of terrorism, this is mostly related to the fanatic Islamist activities, which is basically was erupted in the Middle East theater, which was also erupted in Afghanistan at the initial period. Now it is being generated to many of the countries, even from the Middle East. It is also exported to the even Indonesian border, even Myanmar, also Rohingyas, even also in our country.
Thank you. I like to come up in a question related to the if you look at this development at this moment globally in place, that is sustainable development goal. My point to know about what do you think that the perspective of this sustainable development goal and the impact of terrorism of these goals?
Well, definitely the programs of Sustainable Development Goal, SDG, which is basically designed by the United Nations and which is being now addressed or welcomed by most of the nation states. If we can achieve the goal, all points, there is mentioned 7 points of SDG, that would be really exciting for the global population, because these are the program to enhance a better life of the global citizen. So here is the issue, terrorism, whether this would put barrier to achieve the SDG. Yes, you may say, every development to address, to achieve the range of success in any corner of the world is a very sensitive when it receives the acts of terrorism, definitely, because terrorism never complies with the proper development, because when a development goes on, every single human can have a very modern attitude, which is not giving the space of the terrorist mind. Because on the other hand, what I want to mean that terrorism is it's sort of having the black mask. It is selling of the very orthodox ideas to develop hatred between one nation to another in the name of religion. So here, if we see that Islamic terrorists, definitely they are very active nowadays in the Middle East in the name of IS. And apart from the terrorist religion-based terrorism, still there are some other terrorist activities which is having within the own national border, which is getting eruption with the political stamina.
No, my point is, if you look at this SDGs goal,
Yep.
There is 17th goal,
Yep.
but nothing is mentioned about about the terrorism and how this development can be achieved within this newly phenomena of the terrorism. Terrorism is happening by different way. If you look at that IT sector, there is a IT terrorism or cyber crime is happening. So my point is, as SDG did not include these terrorism issues, but there are several goals like partnership goal number 17. Is it there any space should be given for the partnership to act together for terrorism? So what is your opinion in this perspective?
Well, it's a very interesting note that you have drawn here. There is, in one hand, philosophically, not having to address terrorism or subsiding terrorism in the agenda of SDG, it is definitely debatable. But philosophically, you may also see that it is not proper or wise to have one negative agenda or negative product in the panel of all positive issues to be addressed to develop global citizens' better life. And what you have mentioned that whether the partnership can play a role to subside or fight against the terrorism. Yes, this is definitely can play a role. We can develop partnership to create better understanding between our one society to another, between one nation state to another, between one religion to another, to encompassing a very broader understanding, to encompassing a very broader ties of friendship. Let me share one point that though terrorism or to fight against terrorism is not the agenda directly included into the panel of 17 points of SDG, but when you move ahead to get a success of all these agendas, then definitely or rather ultimately fight against terrorism or terrorism will be addressed, like for instance, if you start education.
I'm just
Okay.
like to get your opinion related to if you look at this terrorism perspective. My main interest to know about you that if you look at that United Nations all activities, European Union, they are one of the main contributor. If you look at the development in Africa, if you look at the development in the Southeast Asian countries and other areas, then USA there and China, Japan, they are contributing. But if you look at that, affected people, then we found that European, like France, they are affected. If you look at, European general people are affected because lots of migration is happening due to the terrorism perspective. And if you look at in Bangladesh, Japan, people are killed here, even other European countries. So my point is, what is your understanding that what will be the role and what should be the role of European Union or USA and other developed countries in terms of facing this problem of terrorism in developing countries?
Well, I would say, all of modern countries, those who have promised to back up the goal of these 17 points, sustainable development goal, they should keep their promise. Like, in the past, when we see related to the climate changes, related to the curbing down, carbon or chlorofluoro gas emission, most of the modern countries are still getting reluctant to come forward to funding properly despite many promises. So I would say in a broader frame, all modern countries should contribute very properly to the UN system. Very properly, they should contribute directly to the single nation state to have a real success of the sustainable development goal. If they do so, ultimately this development will come forward with a force to corner the terrorist activities or terrorism.
I have a last question to you that what is your understanding and your discussion point related to the role of the Middle East, because when you know about the terrorism, we found that the Islamic terrorism is now a major agenda. So Middle East, one of areas where the Islam is grown up and other things, they are promoting the Islam in all over the world. So what should be their role?
Well, you see, if you say Middle East, role of Middle East, it's a Middle East, it's a total geography. It's I would say it's a huge canvas. We cannot put answer with one single big canvas which is divided into many rulers with their own respective interests, political interests. So rather, I would say, first of all, yes, we know this Islamist or extremism of Islamism, it was generated from the Middle East. There was rather Laden came forward. There was to some extent that Iranian revelation also contributed. That was also generated sometimes from Hezbollah, but the perspective of Hezbollah is totally different because the Israel's occupation of the Palestine. So there are different elements are working in the Middle East, which is having color of terrorism, but the hardcore terrorism, which is Islamic extremism, that was first generated in Afghanistan following the invading situation of the then Soviet Union. That is then the growth of Al-Qaeda and Laden forces. But at this moment, that IS is very much active, and as we know, as per the just immediate past US administration, and it is well known that the Foreign Secretary Hillary Clinton, she backed up the IS, and which is rather the present US President Donald Trump, he had accused holding of Hillary Clinton. So the policies are very complicated to giving in the respect of growth of the terrorism. If I come precisely in the Middle East area, it is very difficult to put answer because the Soviet, Saudi Arabian.
So your point is it is really difficult to put answer.
My point is that we cannot hold a total Middle East map together, asking them what is your suggestion. We have to go case by case. We have to go nation to nation. Iran is having one character. Saudi Arabia is having different character of their own respective political policies. So it is not as a whole the total Muslim community is having one single policy which is giving backup to the state Islamic terrorism.
Thank you for your time. Dear audience, we know that recently Middle East they have developed a platform for fight against terrorism unitedly. That platform is going to work in the Middle East. We hope that globally there will be a platform to fight against terrorism and ensure the development of global development. And our main perspective at this moment that United Nations, as they are taking role for the sustainable development goal implementation, there will be perspective, there will be agenda, there will be indicators, and there will be resource allocation to fight against terrorism through the United Nations. Thank you again, and keep an eye on the Face Media's this talk show, Face and Mask. Thank you.